G'day battlers, and today we are jumping in for a video that I'm incredibly excited to make because today we are jumping in for the grand finals of the Melbourne Play Pokemon Regionals Tournament. Now, this was an event that happened this weekend just gone that I was lucky enough to attend. It was an absolute blast. It was the largest tournament that's ever been held in Australia in Pokemon Go, and it was just an opportunity to meet so many amazing people that we've just sort of got to know over the past few years, but haven't got the chance to meet in person. I'll talk a little bit more about my experience at the end of this video though, because I really did have a blast and I would love the chance to talk about it. But in this video, we are going to be jumping straight into these grand finals. Now, essentially, we didn't have an official live stream like many of the North American regionals. Instead, we just sort of played it out as we went, and you can see that we've all sort of crowded around the two battlers that are playing on their phones here. RicFlareon directly below me and ValiantVish over there. Now, also, because of that, we don't have the actual phone recordings from the phones. Instead, we have Zoe Two Dots right there with her camera thanks to her media pass, who was recording the entire grand final set. So we're gonna have like the tiniest little bit of shaky cam footage, but we are so incredibly lucky to have Zoe, and really am thankful for her sending this footage through so that we can get some coverage of these like two of the best battlers in the entire country. So essentially the way that this works is this was a double elimination format where the winner of the entire tournament gets a paid ticket to the London World Championships in August and is going to get to compete against some of the other best in the world. And the second place, so both these battlers are getting an invitation to London as well. The second place will just not get the paid ticket. So essentially, we are watching two people right now that do have a chance of winning the entire World Championships, and we hope to see them both in London in just a few months' time. So this is going to be some really exciting battles, and I'm really looking forward to get into it. So first off, we'll just jump into the teams really quickly just to take a quick look, and you can see straight away that they are pretty familiar. Now, I've just co-opted one of Ghost Stadium's graphics here. Well, two of the graphics they made, smushed them together and made this a monstrosity. But if you do want to give them a follow, their socials are right there. They'll be in the description as well. Now, they've both got Registeel, they've both got Talonflame, they both have Purified Sableye, and they both have Lickitung, which I think goes to show that if you want to perform well in the Pokemon Go sort of play Pokemon circuit, these are four Pokemon that are on both of the top two teams from this Melbourne Regional, so maybe something to keep in mind. With only two differences between the two, they both have a water type and they both have a fighter. ValiantVish has gone for the Swampert instead of the Shadow Walrein that RicFlareon has, and ValiantVish has also brought in the Medicham, whereas RicFlareon has brought in the quite spicy Surfetched. I think it's a really spicy Pokemon. It's really interesting. It's got stuff like Night Slash for the Ghost Cores that are around. It's got like Leaf Blade for all of the, Swampert that is on ValiantVish's side, and I think that straight away, that Surfetched looks really strong, except for ValiantVish's Talonflame, which is almost certainly going to get a fair bit of use because it looks quite strong up against RicFlareon's team. So RicFlareon might be hoping potentially to get something onto that Talonflame, maybe try and clear it out somehow, bait it out with maybe a Registeel and then take it down, but we'll jump through all of these battles as we go. Also worth noting, this is the double elimination format, so RicFlareon is actually one set ahead of ValiantVish. If RicFlareon wins the first set, the first best of 5, because this is the grand finals, if he wins a single best of 5, then that's the end of it. RicFlareon is officially the Melbourne champion. If ValiantVish wins the first best of 5, however, that means that there's going to be a bracket reset. Essentially, RicFlareon goes from being one ahead to even with ValiantVish, and then they'll do one final best of 5 to determine who the real champion is. So ValiantVish is going to be fighting an uphill battle, but let's get into these battles and take a look at how it went. I'm going to bring the teams up on the screen as well, so I'm going to bring the teams over there, and I'll move me to down here. But again, you can see the crowd. I'm standing there behind ValiantVish, and let's jump into these battles as Zoe zooms in and enhances image onto the phones, and we've got a Talonflame mirror match. It will stabilize in just a sec, don't you worry. So this is sort of a mirror match where a Brave Bird is going to do an absolute ton of damage to either Talonflame, and a Flame Charge is just a really low damage bait move that is going to boost your attack. So RicFlareon here, we are watching RicFlareon's perspective, goes for the Brave Bird straight away, hoping to land it through, but ValiantVish does shield up there. Really nice shield, and we see a swap out into Lickitung, so that RicFlareon doesn't have to look at taking a charge move while its defense was dropped from the Brave Bird. Now, this Lickitung is going to be able to tank any move from the Talonflame, but RicFlareon deciding to not shield up because it is more likely that Talonflames are generally going to go for the Flame Charge first, just because that Flame Charge does boost your attack. So now whatever move ValiantVish goes for in the next, the next charge move is going to do even more damage up against this Lickitung. Talonflame can definitely tank those body slams, although will not be able to tank one more. ValiantVish has got a fair bit of energy on that Talonflame, so RicFlareon deciding whether he's going to keep this Lickitung or not, decides to let it go through, and unfortunately our Brave Bird is going to take Lickitung out there. At this point, that Talonflame still has a fair bit of energy, so it's almost certainly going to get a charge move off onto one of these two Pokemon. So RicFlareon decides to bring in the Walrein, decides to get a little bit of energy farmed up here, so it burns his last shield and is now going to just one more Powder Snow, and that Talonflame will go down and have a little bit of an energy advantage going into whatever this next matchup that ValiantVish is going to bring out is. And I don't think there's anything that he's too worried about. Even a Medicham is still going to be able to get a few Icicle Spears off and do a little bit of damage, but we do actually see that a Lickitung is coming out on the other side, which isn't the best matchup for Walrein, but because we have that 20% attack bonus because of it being a Shadow, these Icicle Spears are really going to start to add up. You can see how much one does there, so maybe 2 more Icicle Spears plus the Powder Snows would probably be enough to almost take out this Lickitung. And because we did get that energy advantage on the Talonflame, we're going to be able to get these two in pretty quick succession before Lickitung can even get a single charge move off. Now we see a swap out into Lickitung here, maybe hoping to get some sort of a body slam, use some of that Lickitung's energy, and a little bit unfortunate for RicFlareon because it is a Swampert in the back for ValiantVish. This Talonflame, it's a little bit dead in the water, so decides to just let that go. That Hydro Cannon doing a lot of damage and going into this sort of Walrein having to carry this whole battle for RicFlareon. Now, it is going to be able to tank a Hydro Cannon from this Swampert, so decides to use no shields here. It is going to get pretty low though, because as well as the 20% attack buff, those Shadows do get the 20% debuff as well. So it charges up to 2 Icicle Spears now, using this first one, and we'll see whether a ValiantVish decides to let their Swampert go or wants to burn their last shield. Oh, okay, no, we're actually going to let it go through, hoping, I think a little bit unfortunate for RicFlareon that it just didn't do enough so that Swampert was still able to get one more charge move off. He's going to burn the shield now and hope to sort of farm this Swampert all the way down and then have 2 Icicle Spears ready to go for the Lickitung in the back. Now, it's mad tapping. We get this Icicle Spear here. We saw a Lick come through on the Lickitung. If the opponent gets their charge move off first, if they have enough for a body slam, it's going to take a Walrein out. But if Walrein gets his Icicle Spear off first, then it will win. But we do see that RicFlareon is unfortunately not getting that Icicle Spear off before Lickitung's body slam comes through. And that means that ValiantVish is now officially up 1-0 in the very first best of 5. Whoa, sorry for the whiplash, but we are moving over here as well because game 2, we're actually going to be watching from ValiantVish's perspective. So we move to the other side of the table to watch ValiantVish's plays here. So I've just moved the teams and the camera so that they're a little bit easier to see as we go through this battle. Again, the phone will move a tiny little bit at the start, but we'll stabilize and get right into it. So jumping into game 2 now, we've got the Talonflame mirror match again. We'll see if they decide to play it out any differently. Last time we saw RicFlareon go straight for the Brave Bird and ValiantVish just keep going with the fast moves, and we actually see it play out a little bit differently here. RicFlareon decided to keep the energy on his Talonflame for later, not getting that shield out of ValiantVish, and instead we're seeing the Lickitung swap in come a little bit earlier. Talonflame gets this Brave Bird off, really damaging that Lickitung, and now we see the Lickitung coming in from ValiantVish as well. This puts Valiant in a really strong position because you can see how much of a health advantage that Vish has over a RicFlareon on the other side, and those body slams aren't going to do enough to sort of close that gap, even with a little bit of an energy advantage. So I think RicFlareon sort of at this point knows that ValiantVish's Lickitung is going to be able to win this battle, so is unlikely to burn any shields in this matchup. Unfortunately for RicFlareon, ValiantVish's Lickitung is able to get quite a bit more farm, but hey, able to get one last body slam for the road to get a little bit more chip damage onto ValiantVish, which is nice to see at the very least. But we see that Lickitung, a couple more licks and it will go down. We've got, oh, actually see another body slam get through. I mean, ValiantVish does have a charge move ready to go onto whatever comes in, but this body slam isn't going to be enough to take out his Lickitung regardless, so not too worried. In some cases, potentially better for ValiantVish because it means that Lickitung has less health that the opponent can use to sort of farm up extra energy, depending on what he does decide to bring in here. Interesting to see, we actually see the Talonflame come straight in and go straight for the charge move, really just pressuring that energy from ValiantVish. Looks like he's actually just going to let it go. The Flame Charge coming through here. Unfortunately, that Body Slam worth of energy is just going to waste. So really, really nice play from RicFlareon over there. Does have the Swampert though, so swaps in and we see an instant swap into the Walrein. The Shadow Walrein, I should say. And we see the Mirror Swap, well not Mirror Swap, but we see another counter swap into Talonflame. Talonflame versus Walrein is a pretty interesting matchup, just because it is like, you think it's a water type, so it doesn't care too much about fire, but it does have that ice typing as well. So it's a little bit neutral back and forth. Icicle Spear is doing a lot of damage, and Flame Charge is doing a lot of damage as well. Plus the Flame Charge is getting those attack boosts and doing just that little bit more damage. Unfortunately, we do see this charge move coming through from Walrein before Talonflame can get another move off. ValiantVish here deciding to not shield, let this Icicle Spear come through. Talonflame going down, and is going to leave this battle in the hands of Swampert. A little bit of mutual lag here, but I do remember from watching this battle that they do not, it doesn't have an effect, it's just mutual. No one loses any moves or anything from this little bit of mutual lag, so all good, no need to rematch. And we've got another Hydro Cannon coming through. This is going to be enough to take out the Walrein if there are no shields. No shield, lets it go, and instead going to bring back out the Talonflame. This is really interesting because Talonflame has 2 shields to Swampert's 1, so it's sort of a case where there's a chance that Talonflame is going to be able to get this through here. It depends on what move he's going to be able to land. If he lands a Brave Bird, then this very well might be RicFlareon's match, but this Swampert is just getting to the Hydro Cannon so fast that it's in a pretty good spot as well. Getting the first shield with the first Hydro Cannon, now the Talonflame throwing a move. ValiantVish has to call whether it is a Brave Bird or not, and does correctly call the Brave Bird, which really puts Swampert in a really nice spot here, because now one Hydro Cannon is all he's going to need. Well, one Hydro Cannon here to take that last shield, and then he's going to need one more Hydro Cannon to take this Talonflame out before Talonflame has the chance to get to another charge move. And unfortunately for ValiantVish, that Talonflame just had too much energy in the bank, and he's going to take RicFlareon Swampert out. Even if it was just a Flame Charge, potentially might have been enough, plus the Incinerates. But that does even up the scores to a 1-1 ValiantVish RicFlareon in this best of 5 set. And I think this is the last move. I'm pretty sure for the rest of these battles, we are going to be watching from RicFlareon's perspective. So this should be the final sort of resting spot for both the camera and the team. So no more changing your head back and forth. But jumping into game 3 now, we saw 2 Talonflame mirror leads in a row. So this time we do see a swap out with both battlers. RicFlareon, as we're watching here, brings in the Shadow Walrein to ValiantVish having that Lickitung lead. This is sort of an interesting spot where Icicle Spears do a lot of damage to Lickitung. Well, not a lot of damage, they just do really fast and do really nice chip damage, with it both having same type attack bonus, which does more damage because it has the ice typing, as well as that shadow 20% bonus, so it really does add up. Whereas Lickitung is also charging relatively fast, getting some spammy body slams off that do sort of threaten the Walrein a little bit as well. RicFlareon actually deciding to keep the Walrein a little bit healthy, maybe identifying that it might be really useful later on. We see a swap into Talonflame, which is a little bit scary for this Walrein, just because, again, Talonflame is able to do a little bit of damage, but is also going to be quite scared of those Icicle Spears. We see RicFlareon mad tapping here, farming up the energy to get to another Icicle Spear before this Talonflame throws a move, which is really nice. It really puts that pressure back over onto ValiantVish to decide what he wants to do. Does burn another shield there, the first shield of the game for ValiantVish, and it does count really nicely in throwing the move here before Walrein can get to another one. So this would take the Walrein out with no shield, and it looks like no shield, so Flame Charge comes through and down goes the Walrein. Can't quite see where that move is behind a RicFlareon's thumb, but we do have the Lickitung, and here comes that Shadow Clawing Sableye. So Sableye is a little bit, I don't want to say squishy, but it's not tanky, so it is threatened by these moves from Talonflame, especially after already getting that Flame Charge boost on the Walrein. So now is even more boosted, and Sableye now going to try and Shadow Claw down the Talonflame before a move comes through and throw out this energy onto something that comes through here. Actually, Lickitung coming back in, so Sableye going to go for the return. This does do a fair chunk of damage. I don't think it's quite enough to take the Lickitung out, but it will do a fair amount of damage regardless. Yeah, Lickitung barely hanging on, and I tried to go for a few sneaky Shadow Claws there, but a few sneaky licks, I should say. But we see a double swap, Lickitung coming out for RicFlareon and Medicham coming out for ValiantVish. Now, despite this being a fighter versus a normal type, it is a little bit not quite that easy to tell the story, because Lickitung does have a fair bit of play back. Licks still do a fair bit of damage, and Body Slam does a lot as well. Unfortunately for RicFlareon though, ValiantVish, as you saw just there, was running the Power Up Punch moveset, which really does help to shore up its matchups against things like Registeel, like Galarian Stunfisk, and as well Lickitung. Unfortunately, it's because it really does, it's a little bit faster, it gets a little bit more super effective damage, and it makes these counters do more and more and more damage, as Lickitung is just trying to sort of outbulk and throw as many charge moves as possible. It looks like RicFlareon here is just admitting defeat here, knows that this isn't going to be a victory, didn't throw the charge move, and here's the Sableye actually going to get taken out by Metachan, which is quite the sight to see, but it does mean that ValiantVish is now going to be up 2-1 and only needs to win one more battle to reset the bracket and start a brand new set of 5. So into game 4, we've got another lead change. This time we have the Lickitung mirror match. These two battles clearly on pretty similar wavelengths because I guess they do have quite similar teams as we mentioned before, but this Lickitung mirror match is going to be a bit of a long one. It's going to be a question of whether one of the battlers decides to swap out early, tries to get a little bit of an energy advantage on maybe a backup matchup. Maybe, for example, ValiantVish has a Talonflame in the back and wants to swap in to get a little bit more energy so that, because, I mean, Talonflame gets to its charge moves, its first charge move, and only 3 incinerates, so a little bit of energy advantage can really help out, but it looks like neither battler is too quick to swap out here. So we'll just see how it goes. Both of them just throwing body slams back and forth, back and forth. It may end up being a question of which battler has the better IV Lickitung. Maybe one of them has a slightly more attack-weighted Lickitung, maybe it can win the CMP, maybe it does a little bit more damage, or maybe one of the Lickitungs is just extra bulky and it can actually take the hits a little bit better. We are just going to have to wait to see how this battle does play out to see what is going to happen essentially. And maybe we see a Lick sneak in through here, a Lick get denied here. There is only one way to find out, and it's just keep watching this battle, which I also remember watching this one live and just going, let's settle in, because this one might take a while. This is definitely one of the longest battles you can have in the game, in the Great League, especially in the Great League meta, because Lickitung is such a popular pick and definitely one that can take a lot of XL candy to build. I do recommend starting now if you don't have one ready to go already. But we are finally getting to the closing end of this battle. Neither battler has decided to swap out yet. We see ValiantVish not getting the body slam off first. RicFlareon is going to get it off, so ValiantVish is going to have to make a decision whether he wants to shield or not. Do not see a shield. So interestingly, ValiantVish brings in the Talonflame here to actually get that little bit of an energy farm. Unfortunately for him, RicFlareon is going to be able to get to a body slam here, pressuring a little bit of damage onto that Talonflame. Talonflame can definitely tank this though, so it isn't the end of the world. Going to be able to take it and then get a bit more energy with another Incinerate needed to take that Lickitung out. At this point, RicFlareon is in a bit of a rough position because if he brings the Talonflame out, he's going to be multiple Incinerates behind. But if he brings the Warrain out, then, I mean, similar to Circumstance, right? That Talonflame on the other end, that ValiantVish's side, is going to have a lot of energy ready to throw here. So I'm deciding to call that this is just a Flame Charge and let it come through, but it is a Brave Bird, which is so devastating for RicFlareon. It was really trying to get that advantage back, but unfortunately, just wasn't going to happen. And now, we've got 2 shields on both sides still, with this Warrain just staring down the barrel of a Swampert plus a Talonflame with energy in the back. No shielding, unclear whether that's because he's sort of admitted defeat here, because this is definitely going to be an uphill battle. But now going for the Icicle Spear, it looks like that was a CMP tie potentially. Swampert getting its move off first, burning another shield, or the first shield from RicFlareon in this game. But is really in a really rough position. I'm not sure if RicFlareon has a win condition here, because that Swampert is just going to get its moves off so fast, and even though the Hydro Cannons are resisted, they really are going to add up, especially with that Talonflame also still holding onto energy in the back, and ValiantVish still holding onto 2 shields as well. So going for these Icicle Spears really just, I mean, you can see how spammy they are and how good this Shadow Warrain is, but there is just so much to still have to come up against. We've got another Hydro Cannon coming off here, burning the shield on the Shadow Warrain. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a swap out to Talonflame to maybe let's just throw one of the charge moves. One more Incinerate, and now going for the charge move. And yeah, still had a shield as well. So even if Warrain got a charge move off, that Talonflame would be just fine and would be able to throw this Flame Charge and take the Warrain out, which does mean, I mean, we still have this Talonflame back here, unfortunately, as well. But that is going to be GG's. ValiantVish officially getting the 3-1, which means that the bracket is reset. Oh, I just changed the wrong number. I meant to change that number. But yeah, essentially it means that we're going to be resetting the game. They're back on even standing. They've both lost only a single set of, well, I was going to say a single set of 3, a single set of battles, because this is a best sets of 5 now that we're in the grand finals. So both of them have only lost to one opponent. And I probably should have mentioned, that opponent was each other. Before these battles, ValiantVish actually lost, I think it was 3-2 to RicFlareon. So these battlers have history. They're already 5 battles in before this video. I can't believe I didn't mention that. Worst carrier on of all time. But this means that we're actually now 9 battles in, and they've both only lost to one person. and it's each other, which really sets this grand final up to be one of the most exciting battles of all time. So let's jump into it and see how we go with a clean, fresh bracket. So bracket reset, both back to 0. They've each won 1 set against each other each. So this is really the decider, the final best of 5 to determine who is getting that paid ticket to the London World Championships to fight amongst the best in the world. And the only way to find out who that is going to be is by hitting this play button. So let's jump in. Again, watching from RicFlareon's perspective, and we have ValiantVish over there fighting away. We've got the crowd cheering along in the background, and we have the Walrein coming into the Talonflame. Again, interesting matchup where they can both do a fair bit of damage to each other. I think Talonflame generally sort of holds the cards in this relationship a little bit, just because Talonflame is generally going to outpace by the end in most shield scenarios, unless that first Icicle Spear come through, and Walrein is going to need a second one to land to take this Talonflame out. Burning the first shield, I guess recognizing that Walrein could be a really strong Pokemon here. I mean, if Red Steel comes out, Earthquake would be really nice. If Swampert comes out, able to throw those Icicle Spears as we saw before. But going to go for another Icicle Spear, trying to take this Talonflame out. And it does get the shield from Talonflame, unfortunately. So, we've traded shields, not the worst spot. And now this Talonflame, this Flame Charge is going to be enough to take Walrein out. But RicFlareon is just going to let it go because he's decided to bring in one secret weapon into this battle, and that is the Surf Edge. Now, Surf Edge, as I mentioned earlier, Talonflame is the main counter that ValiantVish sort of has. There's nothing else that really counters it super well. So, Surf Edge getting a little bit of energy, definitely a little bit scary for ValiantVish. Thinking about what he's going to do, and brings in the Lickitung. This is one of those spots where Surf Edge is potentially one of the better fighters than even a Medicham up against Lickitung, just because it does sort of do a little bit more damage. I guess the Surf Edge is a sort of a more attack-weighted fighter, so it does more damage with its counters, and you can just see that it is tearing through with those Leaf Blades onto the Lickitung. Lickitung wouldn't take out the Surf Edge with a Body Slam here, I don't think, but going to shield up regardless, recognizing that that Surf Edge must be a strong Pokemon if they aren't swapping out, and they actually swap into Swampert, which makes this Surf Edge such a perfect pick for the back line. And with Talonflame being kept out of the way, being KO'd from the very beginning, RicFlareon is bound to come in here with the Surf Edge against 2 Pokemon that is good against, gets that last shield with the Leaf Blade. Unfortunately, is going to get taken out here by a Hydro Cannon, but has really set himself up for a pretty strong position here. We saw that Sableye was the other Pokemon in the back as well. So it's just going to be Sableye versus this Swampert, which does have a bit of health and is going to be able to get to this Hydro Cannon first, as well as that Lickitung in the back, which is not a great matchup for the Sableye either. So even though Surf Edge has sort of come out as a secret weapon, this isn't looking perfect for RicFlareon here. We actually see him farming up for the return, going for the foul play at the last minute, thinking that this will be enough to take out this Swampert and how much health it's got left. And we do see it come through, taking out the Swampert. We've seen Lickitung come in here, and it is a race to the charge move, and Sableye is able to get to the foul play. I think this is going to be enough to take the Lickitung out, which does mean that RicFlareon is most likely going to be able to take out this very first game, 1-0, fighting it back in the very last best of 5 of this entire tournament. It's getting wild. Jumping into game 2, though, we've got the Shadow Walrein into Lickitung. This is another one of those interesting matchups that we saw a little bit earlier, I think in game 2 of the first set of 5, where the Icicle Spears just sort of get a little bit faster. They do a fair bit of damage to the Lickitung and just slowly whittle it down. Maybe it was game 3, doesn't matter too much, but regardless, this Lickitung and Walrein just going to be trading blows back and forth, except we actually see a swap out into the Mirror Lickitung, catching the Body Slam from ValiantVish, and this puts RicFlareon in an interesting position. Body Slam isn't going to do much up against Lickitung, but now gives the opportunity for ValiantVish to swap into Medicham, which is not awesome for Lickitung, especially because we've seen before that Medicham has Power Up Punch, which makes it even stronger against this Lickitung than most Medichams are. So we'll see how this ends up playing out. Can't imagine we're going to see much in the way of shielding from this Lickitung, just because we know that Lickitung isn't going to be able to get too much damage off with the Body Slams. So it's just going to try and get as much damage off in the interim, and then eventually presumably go down to the Medicham, and leaving it quite low for something to hopefully come in and get a little bit of farm on the Medicham in the back. So just going to let this go. As we said before, Medicham is really powering itself up though, so these counters are going to do even more damage. I don't think we've seen the second charge move from Medicham yet, but if it's a Psychic, that would definitely do a lot of damage to pretty much anything that RicFlareon has, except for that Sableye. Bringing in the Talonflame to try and farm this down and get a ton of energy on Talonflame. Really seeing a lot of farm from ValiantVish as well before throwing this charge move. Presumably the Psychic. It is the Psychic that would have been massive to hit that Talonflame because it was so powered up by the power up punches. But now this Talonflame with energy is up against 2 shield ValiantVish. We'll see what he starts to bring in here. If it is the Lickitung I think has maybe zeroed out its energy after it threw that body slam. Didn't quite see what came in here, but we are throwing the Flame Charge. There are still 2 shields again, so not a guarantee that we see it land. And it is actually the Mirror Talonflame. So this puts RicFlareon in another pretty strong position. Maybe he was trying to catch a Flame Charge there, I'm not sure. Or maybe just trying to get a little bit of energy on ValiantVish's Talonflame, putting it in the back for later, and then bringing out the Lickitung to try and close out this matchup back here, and then use Talonflame a little bit more later on. Zoe just readjusting the camera here again. We've got the Shadow Wall Rain coming in now with the Lickitung. Lickitung getting one last charge move off before going down. Really clutch for ValiantVish. Just a body slam though, so Wall Rain is going to survive. Keep farming up your energy, and I'm assuming we're just going to see a mad click on the Icicle Spear. No, not quite yet. We're going to try and go for a back-to-back by the looks of it. It farms up 2 Icicle Spears in the time that 1 Incinerate takes, plus the extra turn that he's able to click on the charge move in. This Icicle Spear is probably going to burn up. We did not get a shield there, but Talonflame is going to survive it. Another 2 Powder Snows, because 2 Powder Snows plus clicking the charge move fits in the 5 turn length of an Incinerate. So we see this Icicle Spear coming through again, finally getting that shield. But now ValiantVish has a fair bit of energy on that Talonflame. Unfortunately, not able to get the Powder Snow, the Icicle Spear off, and now Talonflame is coming in, has the shield. So if this is a Brave Bird, this could be GG's for RicFlareon. We actually see him shield up a Flame Charge. It's just going to be a race to the charge move here. And we do luckily see RicFlareon coming in with the Flame Charge that I think at this point is going to be enough to take ValiantVish's Talonflame out, and it's actually going to set him up to be 2-0 so far in the Grand Finals, potentially only 1 win away from taking it all out and getting that paid trip to London. So let's just jump into the next battle to see how this goes. We've got their notes right next to them, so like some battles between the battles we're sort of writing notes as they went. Some of them were waiting to the end to sort of recalibrate, think about what they wanted to bring in the next move. But regardless, ValiantVish now needs to win 3 games in a row to take out the championship. So all coming down to this, RicFlareon only needing that 1 more, and we are getting Shadow Wall Rain into the Lickitung. Again, this is getting really tight. So we've seen this matchup before. We know the Icicle Spears are just gonna go pew pew pew, and the Body Slams are gonna go pew 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 back. They're just gonna slowly whittle each other down. We'll see if we see a similar play this time where RicFlareon ends up swapping out into something like the Talonflame, or if he's gonna try and play a slightly different strategy, thinking that ValiantVish might prepare for that exact strategy because he has seen it once before in this such a 14 millionth game that these 2 battles have played against each other in this tournament. So again, that Lickitung getting really low now with 2 Icicle Spears landing, but is now taking the opportunity to throw those Body Slams back. Body Slam is going to take it out with 1, but a second Body Slam would be enough to take this Wall Rain out. We see Wall Rain almost getting up to the Icicle Spear, but Lickitung getting to that Body Slam first. Burning the shield, RicFlareon really wanting to win this matchup, wanting the alignment, wanting to have the switch advantage in this game. So we see Icicle Spear, Icicle Spear, Icicle Spear all the way down, and that is a ton of energy that this Wall Rain now has to use up against whatever comes in. He's mad tapping on where the Icicle Spear button is, and we see it is in fact, that is a Talonflame coming in. So this is going to do a fair amount of damage, but as we saw before, not tons and tons of damage, but really is going to weaken that thing right down. And has a fair bit of energy, so already 1 Powder Snow and able to get another Icicle Spear off before Talonflame can incinerate off. This is putting RicFlareon in a really, really strong position, forcing ValiantVish to sort of consider whether he wants to use that shield, but we do not see the shield. ValiantVish is holding on to both shields up against a RicFlareon who only has that 1 left, has the Sableye and the Surfetch as we can see. We haven't seen the 3rd Pokemon yet, but we see, here it comes, it is Swampert. So we now see RicFlareon swapping into the Surfetch. No reason to go for the Leaf Blade here because there are still 2 shields up on the Swampert, going for the Night Slash for that 30% chance at getting an attack boost, which would be really nice in this game. Swampert shielding up, and there we have it. We get the boost on the Surfetch. This is absolutely devastating for ValiantVish. These counters are going to do even more and more and more damage, just chunking away at this Swampert. Gonna let the Hydro Cannon go through, identifying that he wasn't going to be able to get to 1 more charge move before Hydro Cannon get to another Hydro Cannon, but you can just see that Swampert has been brought down so low because of that extra counter damage. So Sableye now going to let this Hydro Cannon come through and presumably going to try and Shadow Claw all the way down to have a ton of energy to throw at the Talonflame in the back. Here's a charge move from the Swampert. Gonna burn the shield here, gonna Shadow Claw the Swampert down, and then is just gonna try and take the Talonflame out. There is still one shield up on ValiantVish's side, so can't go straight for this foul play. Here comes the Talonflame, doesn't have a charge move yet. Here comes one more Incinerate, one more Shadow Claw, took the Talonflame out, and here comes back that Swampert and is almost down, and there it goes, and we officially have a Melbourne Play Pokemon Regional Champion with RicFlareon taking it all out 3-0 in the final best of 5. Really just both battlers playing incredibly well as through this entire set. One took it out 3-2, RicFlareon took it out the first 3-2. Then we saw ValiantVish come back with a 3-1 and then bring it right home with a 3-0. That Surfetched really coming in clutch, and again, really incredibly well played from RicFlareon. We'll take these extra bits off the screen as well. Sorry, moved me back up there. But seriously, so incredibly well played by both players. I mean, they were coming in with very similar teams, and they had very clear identification as to what was going to be good. We saw that Surfetched was really a clutch pick for RicFlareon, as long as he could get it in a spot where he was missing that Talonflame, which is exactly what he was able to do in a bunch of those games. Even in that last one, getting the boost on the Night Slash was just absolutely huge. Let him take out the Swampert even faster, so that it didn't have enough of an opportunity to get extra charge moves off that actually very well could have pushed the game the other way and given ValiantVish one game in there to then try and keep going and take the last two to take out the championships. But with that said, both of these battlers are getting an invitation to the London World Championships. Hopefully we will see them both there, but this is truly incredible to see. I mean, we actually do technically have one more video that Zoe did send through with the champions there all getting their medals. Oh, I'm covering it up. Get me out of here. Shoot. Yeah, we've got RicFlareon there over on the right. Then to his left, we have that second place champion of ValiantVish. To his left, again, we have Gone 1001, who took home the bronze. And then on the very left, we had Yusei, New Zealand, one of my faction's teammates, taking out the 4th place as well. All really incredible battlers, and just, again, really incredible to be able to watch this all unfold live. And I have to say a massive thank you to Zoe Two Dots for filming all of this footage, sending it through so that we can still get to take a look at what these battles were able to accomplish, because it truly is incredible. And I'll actually link a video of hers as well. She made a video of this tournament, and it seriously is like one of the best videos ever from Pokemon Go, that one of the ones that I've enjoyed the most out of everything. It's so fun to watch. It really sort of brings you into the atmosphere, the vibes. It's got some montage action going on. The music is just perfectly selected. It really is well worth the watch. So I'll link that down below as well. With that said, though, I want to give a massive thank you to everyone for coming out to the Melbourne Regionals. Again, it was an absolute blast. It was my first chance to meet so many of you that weren't from either Newcastle or Sydney, or my first chance exactly to meet anyone else from the rest of the country. So many awesome people, able to meet my fellow streamer friends. You know, was able to hang out with Dr. Trotter and Stumpy, hang out with RocketClare, Bam Boss. It was just an absolute pleasure, and I cannot wait for the next tournament as well. And it was won really well by the ESL Australia team. They just ran it really smooth. There was a few lag issues at the very start. The internet just wasn't working quite well. The phones were a little slow to get going, but once that was all cleared out, the tournament was incredibly smooth. The games played great. They had some great TOs on the staff as well. It all just went really well, and I'm really happy that I was able to make it out to Melbourne, because it was just one of my favorite weekends of Pokemon Go of all time. So if you can, definitely recommend registering for a Play Pokemon tournament in your area when it next comes up. And if you have missed out this season, definitely jump in for the next one, because it is well worth the time, and it's a blast, and I really can't wait for the next one. But thank you all for being absolute pleasures. And with that said, I'll put Chenzo's glasses on that I also stole from the Melbourne Regionals. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, especially that subscribe one, and I'll see you in the next PvP video. Bye guys.